The Silver Arrows had yet another bad race in Jeddah, with the car struggling in the high-speed corner and Russell even complaining about the return of a familiar foe. But that wasn't the scariest thing this weekend for Mercedes, because even though the 18-year-old Oliver Bearman was faster than Lewis Hamilton, it does now seem like the W15 has another fundamental design issue that will hinder the car throughout the season. This only begs the question, what were the engineers at Brackley doing for the entirety of the winter off-season? The performance of the Mercedes W15 has raised doubts since testing, and after 2 races, it's clear that major issues persist, notably aerodynamic instability at high speeds, a problem lingering from the previous year. In Jeddah, the Brackley team struggled to find the right balance between efficiency and aerodynamic load, and unfortunately, they didn't manage to do so. Without a doubt, Mercedes has been the most disappointing team in the early stages of the 2024 World Championship, and despite testing with different programs compared to rivals like Ferrari and McLaren, the anticipation surrounding the W15 was high, fueled by James Allison's optimistic remarks, placing the car second in competitiveness. However, internally there was uncertainty about Mercedes' expected performance. After encountering problems in Bahrain due to engine cooling issues, Mercedes approached the Saudi Arabia race weekend with optimism regarding their improved W15 Challenger. But despite this positivity, the German team couldn't capitalise on the promising practice performances, ending up with both cars on the 4th row and finishing in 6th and 9th positions during the race. Throughout the weekend, Mercedes struggled, particularly with the rapid directional changes at the start of the Jeddah Corniche circuit, resulting in lost opportunities for gaining an advantage. This was evident during the race when Lewis Hamilton demonstrated faster pace than Lando Norris towards the end, but couldn't fully utilise his straight line speed advantage due to time lost in the high-speed corners. Lewis Hamilton has a history of expressing opinions that diverge from those of his team members, and often his remarks are quite truthful to a large extent. It only took 2 races on vastly different tracks to confirm the fidelity of the 7-time world champion statements, and while an engine problem hindered both W15s in Bahrain, there's no excuse for their performance in Jeddah, where they finished as the 4th and 5th fastest cars behind Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren, and even struggling against Aston Martin. But the scariest thing if you're a Mercedes fan is that in Jeddah, Charles Leclerc's pace was 0.4 faster than the W15's, the same margin separating Max Verstappen's RB20 from Leclerc's Ferrari. Then the W15 struggled in the fast sections of Jeddah, losing an average of 10 km an hour to Ferrari, McLaren and Aston Martin, and even 12 km an hour to the Red Bull RB20. At high speeds, Mercedes ranked second to last on the track, only ahead of Haas, performing on par with Sauber and slightly worse than Alpine, Racing Bulls and Williams. This translated to a deficit of 0.3 to Leclerc's Ferrari and 0.4 to Verstappen's Red Bull in qualifying in the snake section from turn 4 to turn 10, widening to a full second in the race, while being followed by Lando Norris on the same tyre compound. It was a worry for Hamilton, given that in the past, race pace has been Mercedes' strength, with the 7-time world champion saying they were miles off in the high-speed corners. His team boss Wolff has given that a number, around half a second. It is clear that we are struggling with the car in the high-speed corners, he said. We are competitive elsewhere, but in 3 corners here, we were losing about half a second. It was therefore incredibly difficult for the drivers to attack with. We tried something different on the strategy, but unfortunately, with the low levels of degradation we saw across the field, it didn't work out for us. Add this to the list of issues Mercedes encountered in these 2 weeks, and you have a car that might be at the same level as the W14 and the W13, which is appalling for a team that strives to be second best. Remember, in Bahrain, Russell even complained about the return of porpoising and that it lacks downforce. And it wasn't at all surprising. When Lewis made his surprise decision to go to Ferrari, it's evident that he's seen something on the simulator that indicates Mercedes have not improved and are stuck in a groove, and this is being proven in the first 2 races of the season. With a break now before Formula One heads to Australia for round 3 of the championship, Wolff feels there's a lot more work for Mercedes to get through behind the scenes. There is so much learning we can take from these first 2 race weekends. We need to get our heads down to analyse, understand and improve, he said. It's clear that we've got a lot of work to do, but these tough days make you better. Everyone is committed to getting the car into a better place, and we look forward to coming back stronger in Australia. The difficulties with the W15 have opened up the prospect of Mercedes facing a 3rd consecutive year of chasing problems. After its woes with the new ground effect cars over the past 2 seasons, it does seem like the team simply can't understand this era of ground effect rules and struggles immensely, while you have teams like Red Bull who, if I'm being completely honest, will not even show the full potential of the RB20 because it simply won't be necessary throughout the course of the season. George Russell even went as far as saying that it's not their rivals getting faster, but the Mercedes are getting slower, and that it's all fine margins at this point. This is particularly alarming since we were promised a much better car from the Brackley factory. Knowing how terrible the zero pod concept was at the beginning of last year, it really is appalling how Mercedes switched almost 3 concepts in the 3 years of these ground effect rules and still can't quite seem to get it right. We're still really trying to understand this car because we have shown true performance at points over the last 2 weekends, Russell said. FP1, straight out of the box, we were top of the timesheets and always in the top 3. FP2, P2, then both weekends the pace just falling away from us. That hasn't been our competitors getting faster, that's been us getting slower. So we need to understand why that is, but it's fine margins now. It's so close with ourselves, McLaren, Aston, Charles Leclerc, Ferrari is just a smidge ahead. We just need to tap into it a bit more. The problems they face at the end of the day on a track as specific as this is a combination of Mercedes just getting it wrong in finding the correct balance between low drag and downforce, along with their car simply lacking overall to the others around them, which on this track makes it all the more obvious, and it was to be expected they'd be playing catch up after completely changing concept. But the fact that they still have bouncing and rear instability 3 years into this regulation cycle where others have pretty much solved those problems shows how lost this team is. As time goes by, Lewis Hamilton's decision to go to Ferrari seems like the best thing he could have done for the sunset of his career. If Mercedes continues like this, it's a big question mark about what would lure Verstappen to join the team if the chaos currently in Red Bull develops in such a way that sees the team lose its best driver. Toto Wolff stated after the Jeddah race that he would even do handstands to have him in the team, but improving the car is a priority. But how much can you improve the car considering that every team has a limited budget and that you cannot spend like they used to back in their era, which is one of the main reasons the budget cap was even introduced. It's clear that Mercedes has got a lot of work to do, but these tough days do make a team better. Everyone should be committed to getting the car into a better place and to come back stronger in Australia in 2 weeks' time. Mercedes are in a very bad situation at the moment, but the team can improve and come back into the fight for second. It won't be easy because Ferrari at the moment are the second best team. Even an inexperienced Oliver Bearman managed to beat Hamilton and Norris and finish in front of them. So when Sainz returns from recovering, the Scuderia will again be a force to be reckoned with. The Silver Arrows first need to solve the issues on their car, however, and only then worry about the opponents. But of course, they won't stand idle as well. What do you think? Will Mercedes bounce back and improve or not? Let us know down in the comments below, and thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.